It's over, folks. The Hornets 2024-2025 season, it's come to an end. As you can see, I'm dressed for a funeral. I'm ready for it to be an end to this season. Doug has a little bit of a different look. You'll see coming up today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube, where if you can see us on YouTube, you can see myself dressed in a suit. Again, I'm attending the Hornets 2024-2025 funeral, and Doug looks like it's just been a hell of an 82 for him. I don't know if you can blame this one on the baby, because she's sound asleep. We're recording this Sunday night before exit day interviews will be hosted at Spectrum Center on Monday morning. I don't think you can blame this on the baby, Doug. Feels like this has just been a hell of an 82-game Charlotte Hornets regular season that hit a little bit different, and that's with a high bar to clear in terms of bad seasons that we've experienced before.
No. It has not been a hell of an 82. I should change that on the graphic. It's been an 82 times 3. And I'm not doing that math, folks. The only reason I'm podcasting right now is because I decided not to do any math in college.
I just did it. It's 534,000. That's the answer.
Okay, yes, that sounds it feels right. That feels right. And can't blame the baby. The baby went to bed early. In fact, thank you, Jim Nance. The soothing sounds of Jim Nance in the final round of the Masters put my baby to bed early. So thank you, Jim. But it is quite a feeling for this season to be over. I do feel like these 3 seasons have been a little bit of a blur. I'm having trouble distinguishing them, distinguishing a Moussa Diabate from a Kelly Oubre. But I will say this, we got this Sicko Satchel question from our good friend, Super Hornet, Evan Hale. And he writes this that I think would be a good jumping off point for where we are here before we get into a recap, a final recap against the Boston Celtics. Evan writes this. The season just ended, and I'm sitting here thinking I would feel relieved. But now I'm sad. Is this postseason clarity, just my feeling, or do you guys feel the same?
Okay, you simmer with that. You let that marinate, and I'm going to shout out our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We appreciate FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers
Are you wearing
can
a
get
tie?
200.
Hey, real quick. Are you wearing a tie?
I'm not wearing a tie. I'm wearing a turtleneck.
You're going turtleneck suit. That's so, you're so modern fashion. Anyway, go ahead with the FanDuel.
Thank you very much. Thank you to FanDuel. Thank you to Doug. Thank you to FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Also, we have a newsletter, Locked On Hornets newsletter, daily one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now, LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. I'm wearing my modern suit with my green turtleneck in honor of the Masters. Shout out to Jim Nance once more, because of the funeral that I wish to host for this season. I am sad having gone through this season, but I'm also sad that the season had to come to an end the way that it did, in that there just wasn't a whole lot of good to pick apart. Now, I guess it's not entirely true that there's not a lot of good all throughout, right? Like, you do have some pieces still on this roster, but that you like. LaMelo, I don't know what LaMelo is going to look like going forward. I don't know if we're holding a funeral for LaMelo's time as a Charlotte Hornet. Is there some kind of eulogy to be had there? I'm not sure. But it's entirely on the table, and I would be sad about LaMelo leaving this Hornets team after him posting that All-Star appearance in year 2. I would be sad if Trey Mann is off the roster, right? I don't know if our lovely Trey Mann, after playing really fun basketball at the very beginning of the season, Doug, the last time we saw him play ball was November 20th. And so that has me sad today as well. The Mark Williams thing, going back and forth. Like, what's going to happen with Mark? Is he going to get traded again? I don't know what's going to happen with this team. But yeah, man, it's been a rough one for me, to be honest with you. I know it's been rough for you, as indicated by your hairstyle right now. Your hairdo is rough. It's been an 82. It's been a 534,000 games. But am I sad? This one, I think this season, Doug, was a little bit harder on me than most in terms of the seasons that I've covered, because just didn't feel like there was a whole lot of good to grasp and go towards the future. And I know that's not entirely true, but it's just it's the fact that it's the third one in a row. That one really hurts, the fact that it's the third time in a row.
I think it could have been a lot worse, honestly. Like, what if we talked about this scenario many times in the preseason and the lead up into the trade deadline before Brandon Miller got injured, before the torn ACL for Grant Williams. We talked about this scenario where the Hornets might be too good, and they would have to put the proverbial family pet down at the trade deadline.
That's right.
And make it so they could still be in the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes. Well, luckily the basketball gods took care of that for them way early, and they never really had to do that. Of course, we had the Mark Williams drama. That stunk for Mark Williams. That stunk for the team. That stunk for, I think, team morale as well. So that was not great. But you at least knew where the team was throughout most of the season, and you didn't have to jerk the wheel. I think that would have been way worse. I think I would have been super down had that occurred. I'll say, like, I'm more excited after the end of this season than I was in the previous two, because in the previous two, Michael Jordan was still the owner. In the previous two, Mitch Kupchak was still the general manager. And I had zero hope that under the leadership and guidance of those two men, that this franchise was going anywhere. They just kept making the same mistakes over and over. And one of the biggest mistakes is they just weren't doing anything, and they had no vision for this franchise. I mean, if you could take solace in anything, it's that as much as they might have been annoying and grating to the ears by the 82nd game, some of the platitudes that you hear constantly from Charles Lee about working hard, about competitive joy and gratitude and feeling great, like all of those are going to serve the roster, and Jeff Peterson continuing to find guys that match that whole idea and Hornets DNA, that's only going to serve them when they eventually decide to be a serious basketball team again. And that starts in a month, hopefully, when they win this lottery sweepstakes, for the love of God.
Yeah, for the love of God.
Flagg.
But yeah, please get it done. And look, I probably laid it on a little too thick, right? Like, here we are talking about how sad we are, holding a funeral, all that stuff. There are things to like about this team. I like Charles Lee as a coach. There's clearly a new vision with this squad. Jeff Peterson, Charles Lee, the whole regime having a Hornets DNA type, and they've exercised that Hornets DNA and getting a guy like Okogie, Moussa Diabate, all of these players that really play hard. Tidjane Salaun is your 6th overall selection. You can see a new culture being built along with a practice facility that just had its grand opening little less than a month ago. So that's all very cool about this squad. I do have faith that they're going to be able to turn it around. And so I shouldn't lay it on as thick as I did, not to live in this misery. But I do wonder, is this the end of a couple of chapters for this franchise with some of the players that they have on the roster and that have been here for 3, 4, 5, 6 years? I do wonder if we're starting to see the end of that. While that might be something that we celebrate. Oh, thank God, we're finally moving on. Yeah, there's some things to celebrate there, but it also feels like there was a missed opportunity, whether it be the end of the old regime or maybe even the beginning of this new regime. Yet injuries happened again, and we just can't shake it. And so now you're hoping for a new beginning injury-wise next year. Brandon Miller, a guy that no matter how many times he got injured his rookie season, he would actually come back. He was never gone for too long, maybe a week at most, and then he was right back in the lineup, being among the team leaders in games played. And now Brandon Miller, I think that's one thing that really hurt us. Like, we didn't have Brandon Miller, our really good rookie in his first season, who only did not win Rookie of the Year because you had the generational guys like Wemby and Chet Holmgren. But even that was taken away from us. Even the great year that LaMelo was on at the beginning of the year, well, okay, the post-All-Star break numbers are not very good, and nobody was arguing about him having been snubbed as an all-star because of the numbers that he put up post all-star break. And so I think those are some of the reasons why I am ready for this season to be over with. I am ready to turn this page. I am ready to move on. I am hoping that I see the Hornets logo as the final logo revealed during the NBA draft lottery. I think that would obviously give everybody some new hope with this squad. But to me, because it's the third year in a row, because Brandon Miller was taken away from us, because Mark was, because LaMelo was at times, I think that's the reason why I'm really ready for this one to be over, and I'm ready to turn the page, man. And then we can see a brighter tomorrow, right? We can start next season with all the happiness in the world. But yeah, I can't tell you I got a lot of happiness right now with the way that this season went.
We're going to work towards a sustainable future. Yeah, I hope I don't hear that much during the
in the raspy voice of Mitch Kupchak. You don't want to hear that anymore?
I just don't want to hear it at all from any voice ever again. I want to hear what I want to hear, what I hope to hear. I don't think I'm going to hear it in these, what do you call them? The thing that you're doing tomorrow.
Exit day interviews.
The exit day interviews. I don't think I'm going to hear it in the exit day interviews, but I hope that by the time we turn the page, my lights are making all kinds of weird things. Now I'm orange. What I hope to hear when we turn the page of the offseason is that we turn off the evaluation period and we turn on the expectation period. I mean, and it doesn't have to be we're going to make the playoffs next year, but I hope that we get out of this. I mean, I just feel like even before the injuries, I felt like with first-year head coach, so much of it was like, well, I don't know. What are we? We're going to figure that out. It's kind of I really so much of this year, because of injuries, because of first-year head coach, because of evaluation, because of new ownership, so much of this year, and I think this was the most exhausting thing to me, it's why my hair looks the way it does, is because I've covered 82 games of, I think, unserious basketball. And I think, honestly, doing Locked On NBA and covering other serious basketball teams and seeing the gulf between where the Hornets are and where those other serious teams are, the way they operate, both from a talent perspective and also just an expectation perspective, it's just so different. And so I don't know how you turn that around on a dime, but I hope the Hornets can figure it out because, my visual aesthetic right now is I'm just channeling what I hear what I see in the chat in every Hornets box score, on the subtext line, on social media. When, I hear from people who are in the stadium, like this is just how everybody feels right now, is exhausted, and they want to believe and they want to watch serious basketball again. And I hope it happens sooner rather than later.
All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
I had a TV event tonight, guys. I promise it wasn't for a funeral. I had a TV event. That's why I'm wearing my suit. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast, I guess we break down a little bit of what we saw between the Hornets and the Celtics in the last game of the regular season, and then maybe we give you some questions on what we want to hear answered at Hornets Exit Day Interview Day tomorrow. That's all still to come, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball, hockey playoffs, they're both here. They're both heating up. There's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Are you laughing at me in the background?
Well, no, I'm laughing at the idea of the NHL playoffs heating up. That would seem bad for hockey. Mm-hmm. If hockey heats up, that doesn't feel like it would be good for anyone playing.
Hockey playoffs are heating up. Players are drowning in a pool of the melted ice. No, I'm just playing. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports. Basketball, hockey, both of them heating up. I told you. Baseball, more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. 2,000. That's a lot. Basketball, you might pick one of the Lakers, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, to go for more or less than 28 points. I'd pick the more. Jason Tatum, more than 8 rebounds. If you want to go with the hockey side of things, Connor McDavid, maybe you want to pick him for more than 1 goal, and Austin Matthews for more than 5 shots on goal. What I love is how easy it is to set up your lineup in under 60 seconds, and Prize Picks even runs cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value, and payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Finally, also, this episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Spring is here, And Wayfair's heating up. No, I'm playing about that too. Spring is here, and that means it's home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. From small updates like stylish cabinet hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sinks, or outdoor lighting, Wayfair has quality products for every budget. You could upgrade your kitchen. You have free and fast shipping, making it easy as well for some of those items that you might be purchasing as you're refreshing and updating your kitchen as well. I love that they also have top brands like GE and Moen at great prices. Wayfair makes every home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Sorry, that my voice gave out a little bit. More Locked On Hornets ahead. It's funny you mention being enlightened by what NBA basketball is supposed to look like after you started hosting Locked On NBA. I myself could feel that transition of how, not that you turned against the Hornets, but how your outlook on basketball started to turn. Not against the Hornets, but your outlook on basketball turned. Therefore, I guess indirectly, kind of turning on what the Hornets were, what you were watching within this 82-game regular season, because you were being exposed to all of this great magic brought to you by OKC, having built a franchise that was contending, having seen the depths of hell, having come back, and also now here they are again contending for an NBA championship, having seen the Lakers and Golden State and all these teams. And so I could see, I think that's when the hair started to get a little displaced. Once you started hosting Locked On NBA, and then you would come to us, or you would start hosting us in the morning, I think that's when we started to see your outlook change a little bit.
Well, you realize how long it took OKC to put all of that together and how much losing they had to do. And then you see that the Hornets did all of that losing, but with literally no direction. You know, they were directionless for so many years. I mean, even if you go back to the play-in, there was some winning there. But it was winning without a direction. It was winning that wasn't going to result in any kind of playoff success. And so, yeah, and then you go and you try to get a coach, and that coach doesn't really want to coach you, and then goes and ends up coaching a team to a number one seed in the Eastern Conference. That's difficult. Yep. And then you go to the coach they used to have. I mean, we could, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't
want to dig up
ball on the
bones
tee
here.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to dig up on. Let's talk about this Celtics game. That's what I want to talk about.
Let's do it. They lost. They lost to the Celtics, 93-86. You had a bunch of the young guys. No, it's not. It's not bad against the Celtics. You had the young guys go out there. Not a great game for Tidjane Salaun. 5 points. Bad shooting night. Bad shooting night from distance for Salaun, who went 1 of 7 from distance, 1 of 11 from the field. Okogie 4 of 10. Nurkic, he was 6 of 10 with 14 points. He led the team in scoring alongside Josh Okogie, both going for 14 points, both having been former Phoenix Suns members as well. Off of the bench, Moussa Diabate provided 10 points and 9 rebounds. Finally, Jalen Sims. Cool for Jalen Sims, again, who signed another 10-day contract, so he'll end the season with the Hornets. He scored 12 points, 4 of 9 shooting, 2 of 5 from three-point range. What you got on this one, Doug?
Moussa Diabate played in his 71st game of the season. That led the team. And in case you've forgotten, he began the season on a two-way contract that was converted to a full-time contract. That's the first time, and the two-way contracts have been around, I think, for like 6 or 7 seasons now.
Yeah.
That's the first time since then that a player has started the season on a two-way contract and ended up leading the team in games played this season, which I have to say, if it was going to happen for any team, it had to happen for the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe you could throw the New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies in there as well for contenders for that honor. But the Hornets got it. And shout out to Moussa, for real. Shout out to Moussa. Yeah. He has been extreme work ethic guy, goes after every play, every scenario, doesn't matter how much they're down, how much they're up. He's the same player, and he's one of the players that I listed in every Hornets box score of this game that I'm ready to see more of. I am ready to see more of Diabate. I'm ready to see more of Jusuf Nurkic, Tidjane Salaun. Like, give him an opportunity to have a summer. I think maybe next season he could play in Greensboro again. But, this is a long-term project for Salaun, but I'm excited to see him grow. Josh Okogie, I hope he sticks around. He's a fun player to watch. But the rest of the roster that was on the floor tonight, no, I'm good.
Yeah, well, and I think you just went through quite a few bench players that you hope actually don't see a lot of minutes on a contending team that we all love. But we know within the context of this team, you can't have Okogie play a whole bunch of minutes and expect to win a bunch of ball games. He played 18. It's not even a ton, right? I think Nurkic, even if Nurkic can provide you some real rotation big man stuff, he's got to hit threes. You see a lot of the physicality that he brings down low. He's a smart basketball player. He makes smart decisions passing out of the post. But there's a reason that a bad Phoenix team also was willing to dump his salary. I know Nurkic wasn't very happy with his role in Phoenix. I also don't think that he was an amazing player while with Phoenix, and there was a reason they were willing to dump his salary. And so if he wants to stay here and the Hornets want to have this relationship, great. I do like what Nurkic actually brought to this squad. I think some people kind of looked up to him as well with the way that they talked about him. But I think we have these glowing reviews of the players that we liked, and yet here they are losing. And this is not the Celtics team that you expect to compete for a championship. It's Baylor Shearman. It's Sam Hauser leading the team in points. It's Jordan Walsh going for double digits. Excuse me, Peyton Pritchard had 34. But Sam Hauser being the second leader in points with 15. It's Miles Norris getting minutes. It's Drew Peterson getting minutes, you know? And I know the Hornets weren't playing Mark Williams. You get the picture. So I do hope that those role players are in their role that they're supposed to play. And that's been true for the last 3 years of this Hornets team.
No, you're dead on. In fact, that was one of the only takeaways, larger takeaways that I had of this game and every Hornets box score is that, I think Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee did a great job of putting their heads together and deciding like what kind of players they want on this team now and in the future. They identified those players. They didn't stick to their own system. They looked outside of Greensboro. They looked outside of North Carolina in training camp and actually brought some talent in that fit that mold. And the new attitude, the work ethic, all that stuff, that's great. But I think these final few games where the Hornets reserves looked generally ineffective against other teams' deep reserves, again, they showed fight. There's no doubt about that. But offensively, it was a mess. Defensively, it was a mess. I think it shows the skills gap between the Hornets and really every other team in the NBA. It's pretty vast, other than, maybe, well, I'd say Washington separated themselves after the trade deadline. So, maybe Utah is the only team where they can really compete there. And, Jeff Peterson has a lot of work to do this offseason, regardless of what the expectations are for next season, because, so many of the players that we saw take the floor tonight, it's not even, because you're right, Okogie, Diabate, Nurkic, Salaun, all four of those I want to see more of in the context of I don't think the Hornets are going to be putting a playoff roster together. I think those four would be valuable contributors to whatever they're going to put together next season. But yeah, I think all four of those would struggle, except for Nurkic because of where the center rotation is now. But all those other guys would struggle to get minutes if the team was entirely healthy. If you got Trey Mann and Grant Williams and Brandon and Miller and all these guys and whoever you draft in the first round, whoever you draft in the first round, whether it's, I would say 1 to 5, probably going to jump most of those players. That's where the Hornets are. It's not, and again, that's not the fault of Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee now. It's just that's the what they've been left with. They got left with just an absolute mess by this previous regime, and they're working their way out of it.
Well, and last thing before we move on and we can get to the mock draft, but I think part of the disappointment of this season as well is so much of it actually revolves around Brandon Miller for a couple of different reasons. One, because he didn't play this year, so we didn't get to see the jump that Brandon might take. And in the very little basketball that he did play this year, it's not like he did take this overwhelming jump, but he was robbed of all these other games that he really could have shown us something, that he was on the ascent to stardom, all-stardom, whatever that means. The other thing is, think about the rookie that we did have play this year. Tidjane Salaun, very different coming into his first season of basketball than what Brandon Miller was, who was a guy that was extremely polished, was an extremely good shooter, had success at the collegiate level, had success where he was the star on his team, and you knew right away that guy was going to get a lot of minutes. If he didn't start in the first week of his career, he was going to start before too long, and he finished the season on such a high note. A lot of that stuff is the exact opposite in what you have with Tidjane, man. Tidjane was always going to be a real big project, despite being drafted 6th overall. It's not like you expected him to play as many minutes as he did, honestly, this year. And even if we saw improvement even if people can be and maybe even should be excited about Tidjane, when you compare him to what we had with Brandon did he did a ton of the heavy lifting on the good vibes for whatever you might have felt good vibes wise last year. You know, we'll end on a 1 of 11 performance from Tidjane in the last game, and it's still very polarizing what Hornets fans might think about the Frenchman. So I think that's also another big reason is, hey, this young guy, he represents a really bright future. You just can't say that with certainty with Tidjane. You can with Brandon. Even if you don't think it's an all-star level, you know Brandon is at least a really good player. And I think that's probably something that people just can't grab onto with as sure a hand as they could last year. And that's what's unfortunate. But it doesn't mean that I can't be excited about what Tidjane could become. You just didn't see a lot of that, Doug. And I think that's the issue. You just didn't see a lot of that this year.
Well, yeah, but again, think about a scenario in which Tidjane was drafted as the project that he is if the Hornets had not completely nuked like 1.5 drafts prior to Brandon Miller. You know, I mean,
yeah.
that's why the system right now is so behind in talent, is because they whiffed on so many draft picks, particularly the Book Knight, Kai Jones.
The 2021 one is an all-timer.
Yeah, I mean, particularly the 2021 draft, but there have been other examples too, where you whiff on these guys, and really because you have to take into consideration that in multiple drafts they moved up in the second round and cost themselves draft capital to move up and acquire players that never worked out. And so, you know, and again, that's the difference between the Hornets and other organizations that are making moves forward, is that they nail those picks. So, you know, that's just where the Hornets are. So that's not Tidjane's fault. I think Tidjane's going to be a really good player. I honestly do. And yeah, he should not have been playing in Charlotte. He should have spent a season in Greensboro, but you know, that's the Hornets just cannot avoid these injuries. And we say it every season, but they can't possibly happen for a 4th season in a row. Right.
Your hair was looking a lot better until that happened, until you started to think about injuries, and then it started to go crazy again. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Oh, geez, see, now my buttons are broken. I mean, there we go.
I'm sorry. Oh my God,
Chris Farley, shout out.
What an episode. We have a mock draft for you. I also want to go down some of the questions we might want answers to during exit day tomorrow. So we'll still get to that last segment.
Charles Lee got a technical.
He did get a technical. Yes, and we got added. People were tweeting that at us. He got his 3rd technical. Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. So we have one more segment to go. LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. More Locked On Hornets ahead. What'd you think about the tech? Charles Lee, he listens. We've been asking for it. It has been a big point of emphasis for us, even me on Weston Walker, but also for both of us here on Locked On Hornets. He got one. Doug, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I don't think they got a great whistle in that game, and I know that's an absurd thing to say in game 82 whenever you're playing like 4th string players. But the disrespect continued despite it being a game full of G Leaguers. The disrespect continued for the Charlotte Hornets. And there were several missed calls, I think, and you know those guys, the Celtics were being physical. I mean, credit to them. But some of the non-calls were absurd, and he finally had enough and got a tech. And honestly, like that was enough. Like he didn't need to lose any money on game 82. Like I'm fine with him not getting himself tossed. That would have been absurd. Okay, I'm a reasonable man. Even after game 82, I'm a reasonable man.
1, 2, 3 Cancun is what that would have illustrated. Yeah, I'm not even going to be here. Right.
You know, if I'm LaMelo on the bench, I'm kind of looking over with my cast on my arm and my leg and being like, hey, you know, what do I got to do? What do I got to do for one of those texts?
What I got to do?
I mean, come on. You know, but
I'm glad he did it. I'm glad because it was within the exact context that we wanted it to happen. Hornets weren't getting any calls. And I needed him to change the way that the game was being officiated. And he gave it a good college try, which is exactly what we wanted, right? So within that context, I love seeing it. I do wonder how much he'd been thinking about that. With all jokes aside of him listening to the podcast, I do wonder how many other people might have been in his ear on that one. If he was in his own head on, man, you know, I really should have gone harder for LaMelo. Should have gone harder in this game. Or was it just a real spur of the moment thing? I don't think we'll ever truly know the answer to that question. But I do wonder, Doug, like how much of that was somewhere in the back of his brain, somewhere in the back of his mind thinking, yeah, the next time that I don't like the whistle and it continues, I'm going to get a technical foul.
I mean, I think he's kind of been open a little bit about being a first-year head coach and what that means, and like a lot of stuff you get right and a lot of stuff you get wrong. Like you're just trying to feel it out. You know, I think the big things that Charles Lee has gotten right, I think, is just like relationships with players and keeping a locker room together that is, dealing with all of those injuries and dealing with those struggles. And he handled some like early season drama with LaMelo and the benching in that Nets game. I think he handled that. Like that could have. That was game 14. That could have completely unraveled the season. And he said, no, the injuries will do that for us. I don't need to do that. So like,
it's a great technique.
But in all seriousness, like he kept that, like he worked through that. And I think he had the respect of the leaders of that team through it all. So yeah, I mean, but I think we've got the, what do you call them? The things that the exit day interviews?
Exit day interviews. That's right. Yeah. That you're really excited for.
We've got those coming up tomorrow. I mean, I think him getting the tech against Boston does open up a question, being like, hey, you got a tech against Boston. It's only your third tech of the season. How do you view the coach's responsibility, to use that tool? Certainly Missoula used it. How do you use that tool in order to both inspire your players in a game where they might be struggling, or also to tell the refs, like, hey, I'm not going to, like, you're disrespecting my players. Like, what do you, to get some of that respect back?
All right, we have enough time. We have enough time for one mock draft. And we have one more mock draft before we end the show, and then we end the season, and then we'll start the official off-season portion of the mock drafts that hit us, even though I know this is airing on Monday, but you get the idea. So, all right, what you got for us, Doug?
Well, I had a realization. So the lottery is almost exactly a month away. I think it's May 12th. So
I think that's right.
I think it's a little under a month away. 30 days has September, April. Yeah, so a little under a month away.
Monday, May 12th. Yep.
Okay, so if the Hornets do win the lottery, I'm going to spend a lot of mock drafts just being like the Hornets take Cooper Flagg. And I thought about that at first. I was like, that might be bad. Might be bad entertainment. But then I thought, nah, I'm going to juice it up. Every show, I'm going to just yell as loudly as I can with the first overall selection, the Charlotte Hornets take Cooper Flagg. That would be awesome. I'd do that for 30 shows.
I think people would welcome it. Now, we've already had a comment about being locked on Cooper Flagg. We would let me tell you right now, we would absolutely be locked on.
I would literally change it on all of the podcast apps. We would become locked on Cooper Flagg.
David, my man, I'm sorry. We're going to have to change the name of this podcast. Maybe look for a different Locked On Hornets. We're going to be Locked On Cooper Flagg if he's the guy that's drafted number 1 overall. All right, mock draft time.
Send the lottery. Here we go. Philadelphia jumps up 4 spots to the number 1 pick. Phoenix, which goes to the Rockets, jumps up 7 picks. Man, the Rockets getting the 2nd overall selection. That would be, wow.
Scary, yeah.
Portland jumps up 7. That means Hornets fall all the way to 6th. Let's go back to CBS here. We did Kyle Boone. I'm going to go to Adam Finkelstein, who in the 6th position has the the Brooklyn Nets taking our guy, Con Knippel, out of Duke. I know you would like that. You've been a big fan of Con Knippel.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of his last name. I also became more of a fan of the second half of the season. So kind of lukewarm. I thought he was a good player, kind of lukewarm on him as a lottery pick for the first half of this past year. I think what really opened everybody's eyes up to him as a prospect was when Cooper Flagg went down early in the first game of the ACC tournament, and they had to rely on Con Knipple to be their lead ball handler. Man, he got to his spots whenever he wanted to, really, and he delivered. Even when he got to the paint, he got to the short corner. He's a dead eye from three. I thought the playmaking really did improve. I think defensively, I'm not going to try to spin that anyway. I know there are people that say he knows where to be. He's smart. I don't think he's going to be a plus NBA defender, certainly not in year one, which a lot of rookies aren't. Most rookies aren't. So we'll see what happens defensively, man. But offensively, I was wondering, is he literally just a come off of a screen and put the ball up in the air type of guy? Or is there a little something to him? Can he do stuff with the basketball in his hands? And Doug, I think he can do stuff. And that was really on display in the ACC tourney.
If you look at the Hornets roster this season and you go to cleaning the glass and you look at how much were they used versus what their efficiency was offensively, you are going to see a lot of players this season that had high usage and mid to below average points per shot attempt. And then you're going to see a lot of players who had very low usage and who had average to maybe above average points per shot attempt efficiency, right? But the gulf was pretty wide. Like it was at the extremes on both ends. You didn't have a lot of players who had mid usage and decent efficiency. And I think that's the kind of player that Con Knipple could be. That he's going to mostly be a guy who's going to be available in the corner to knock down shots, but can also occasionally throughout a game create something for himself, make good decisions with the basketball in his hands. And if there was one defining thing, particularly of the last, 20 to 30 games of the season, it was defined by the Hornets don't have one single player that can make great decisions with the ball in his hands, except maybe Yusuf Nurkic. And maybe occasionally Nick Smith Jr. when he would have a great game. But that was very occasional. So, I just believe that Con Knipple can be that player. So, again, if the nightmare scenario happens and you drop to 6 or 7, I would still advocate for the Hornets to move that pick. But if they took Con Knipple, I don't think I would be up in arms about that selection.
No, I mean, he shot 56% on twos. As this guy that is supposed to be a three-point shooter, like he shot 56 on twos. I'll totally take that. Didn't turn the basketball over. His usage was over 20%. It's going to be only so high when Cooper Flagg's on your team. But, 20% usage, got to the foul line 3 times a game. Like in college, it's not good. I'm not saying it's good. It's not nothing. But the shooting is, he's a dead eye. So Con Knipple, I would welcome that. If you fell that far, the disaster scenario, Trey Johnson, some of the other guys that we'll do some homework on, Con Knipple wouldn't be a bad pick. It would be one of those that doesn't feel like it can fail. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Man, sorry for some of the depression at the beginning, but we're here now. It's off season. We do silly season better than anybody. I stand 10 toes down on that. There's nobody that does silly season like us, and thus Doug Branson's hair is looking fantastic. Oh, God, you're doing it. You went news anchor. You licked your hands. Why'd you lick your hands? Anyways, it looks great. This pod's going to be great. So stick with us, man. Hopefully we get Cooper Flagg. If we don't, then we live to fight another day. We'll have fun, and the Hornets will go 82-0 the next season. Make us your first listen anywhere you get your pods. Also, tune back in tomorrow where we'll have a ton of different Hornets Media Day answers, exit day interviews, lots of content, baby. We're going to be eating off of that content for quite some time. So we'll be with you every day. Have a great rest of your day.